members of Generation E believe he or she should get into the best colleges, even if he or she does not have the best grades or the best scores. And they develop, by the way, this warped view of their own self-importance because mommy and daddy raised them to believe that they were special. What's the end result here? Well, many of these young people, and it's not just the wealthy kids, grow up to be demanding, entitled adults. Oh, my next guest has become a sensation touring colleges across the country and offering the very message that I stressed in tonight's angle. Joining me now, Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire and author of the brand new book, The Right Side of History, in stores tomorrow. All right, Ben, I want to begin with what we were talking about earlier, and it dovetails into everything you write about in your book, the emerging politics of grievance and entitlement, Generation E. Your thoughts on how to best thwart this, combat this, cure this?
I mean, I think that the best way to combat a lot of this stuff is to focus on achievement and freedom and responsibility. The fact is that freedom comes along with the duty to achieve, and you're not owed anything in this world. Why should you perceive yourself to be owed a college slot? Why should your parents give you everything? You know, that sort of mentality is foreign to a lot of the bases for Western civilization and the basis for America, this idea that we were supposed to go forth and conquer, that we were supposed to forge into the wilderness, and we were supposed to build something out there. That sort of mentality, unfortunately, has been abandoned in favor of this grievance culture, as you suggest, that says that we're all owed something from the world, and if we don't get it, it's because the system has failed us.
Well, and even the shirt that young woman was wearing, T-shirt, when she was confronting Chelsea Clinton, of all people, like Chelsea Clinton's. But isn't that kind of I'm so sick of the phrase "jump the shark" because that's jump the shark. But isn't that telling you a lot about just how pathetic this whole entitlement movement has gone when Chelsea Clinton is targeted?
Yeah, I mean, when Chelsea Clinton is too radical for you because she's too far on the right, I think that maybe you've not just jumped the shark, you've jumped the entire aquarium. It's demonstrative of how subjective feeling have taken the place of objective fact. What Chelsea Clinton had to say about Ilhan Omar was basic objective fact. She was speaking anti-Semitism. Chelsea Clinton called her out on that. And somehow she's now responsible for the Christchurch shooting because she did all of that. But that's how some people feel, and therefore it becomes the truth. And they've been told that they're right and that they're special and that they're wonderful individuals because they go to places like NYU and because their parents told them they were special. And so objective fact never actually has to be brought into the conversation.
And speaking of the right side of history, Ben, your book, I mean, we got major heads of major departments at Princeton University. Eddie Glaude Jr., he's on MSNBC, and getting back to that Christchurch slaughter, this is what he said.
Part of what New Zealand represented and represents is in some interesting sort of way, in my view, right, in a wholesale attack on what Donald Trump has enabled. I'm not trying to blame what happened in New Zealand on President Trump, but he has helped create an environment for this sort of carnage to happen.
So that's where it's going. So he might not have pulled the trigger, but it's the environment of Trump that created the hate and the intolerance, et cetera, et cetera. That's reverberated across the airwaves, Ben, for the last 72 hours plus, and it's still going.
Well, there's certainly a narrative that's being driven by the left when it comes to the Christchurch shooting. Every single person in Western civilization who saw that and was a decent person was appalled by that slaughter, obviously. And the attempt to immediately jump into the manifesto of the killer and then give it the broadest possible coverage by the media to do exactly what the killer wanted, which was to generate all sorts of political controversy in an attempt to tear apart Western civilization, is really quite despicable. And one of the things that I thought was so fascinating, if you actually take a look at the manifesto, which I recommend everyone should not, but if you actually take a look, what the killer does is he says essentially Western civilization is white people, and what you see from the intersectional left is a similar perception of what Western civilization is. Western civilization is a hierarchical system of racial domination. That's not what the West is at all, which is why we all, as civilized human beings, mourn the slaughter of innocent people, no matter what their religion, living in our civilization.
Yeah, the right view of history means the correct view of history with its warts and its achievements and triumphs and sadness. But it's finally been on folks that are thinking of inviting a conservative to a campus to speak, or a conservative going to. There are a lot of people who are just saying, you know, I'm not doing it. Jerry Seinfeld won't perform on college campuses because of the political correctness. What do you say to those people who don't want to deal with the grief that you deal with, Dinesh and other people?
You know, I certainly understand it, but at the same time, don't give up the fight, because the fact is there are a lot of people who are hungering for a message that is tolerant not only of humor, but also tolerant of diverse viewpoints. And people want discussion on campus. I just spoke at University of Michigan last week. We had 1,000 people in the audience and 6,000 people on the wait list. That's not because I'm something special. It's because there really is a hunger for a different point of view at a lot of these campuses that's being shielded from them by the administration.
An actual exchange of ideas. What a shock on a college campus. Ben, congrats on the book. We can't wait to read it. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
All right.